It's all about brave truth telling because I think the truth really can set us free and help us feel less alone. Choose wonder over worry instead of falling into fear of the unknown, move into the possibility and wonder of what could be. Our brains are wired to, anytime we want to do something meaningful, novel, or interesting, the fear part of our brain is triggered because that's the unknown. And so I think it's also recognizing that fear is actually, it's not a stop sign, it's often a green light. And freedom requires restraint. And so to become free, we have to be held back or stuck or trapped in some area of our lives.
Well, hello, Amber. Yes, she's here. Oh my goodness. I have so much to say to you. And I know everyone's like, who's Amber? Who's Amber? So I am so excited. I have Amber Rae on today, and we're going to take a deep dive into her journey. And honestly, even before I even get excited and going, Amber, I'm going to take a moment because I wrote some stuff down that I really want the listeners to start out to get a little bit background of who you are and what you're about. So let me just take a moment here.
Beautiful.
Okay?
I love it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, here we go, you guys. This is going to be such a treat. So I am going to wrote my notes here. Want to make sure okay, here we go. Amber Rae is a best-selling author, speaker, artist, whose words and work has inspired millions of people around the world to live with more truth, freedom, and creativity. She's the author of multiple acclaimed books, including Choose Wonder Over Worry, The Answers Are Within You, and her brand new, deeply personal memoir, Lovable, One Woman's Path from Good to Free. Through her writing, art, and speaking, Amber has been featured in outlets like the New York Times, Forbes, and Time, and her creative storytelling has reached over 20 million people in more than 195 countries. She is known for her ability to take vulnerable life experiences and turn them into universal lessons that help others break free from fear, shame, and self-doubt, and instead embrace who they really are. Today, she joins us to share her journey, her wisdom, her heart behind her newest book, Lovable. Well, welcome, Miss Amber. Oh my goodness. Hello.
Thank you. It's a joy to be here.
Wow. I've been able to really dive into your book, Lovable. And first of all, I just want to say what an incredible memoir. Honestly, you are just so gifted in how you write and how you express yourself. And I just want to say thank you for that because it's pretty powerful. It's really powerful. And I know that you have also written, other books. But before we get into all that, can you just share a little bit about who you are and, what you're passionate about? And we would love to start there, Amber.
Sure. I'm a writer. I'm a mama. I'm like, gosh, where do I start? I think, with my writing and self-expression, it's all about brave truth telling because I think the truth really can set us free and help us feel less alone. And I have always kind of made my insides visible because what I kind of accidentally realized in doing that is that by me being able to name experiences that perhaps other people don't have the words to express, and help people see themselves more clearly. And so it's honestly, writing for me is a act to see myself more clearly. And of course, in the process of sharing that, it's been revelatory and helpful for others. So, I think I'm about to turn 40. Ooh. And I just really feel grateful for this moment because I feel like I'm living fully on purpose. I am deeply proud of the things that I'm creating. I like whether I have an 11-month-old who's about to turn 1. And it's just a delicious moment in life.
First of all, congratulations turning 40. I love the
Thank you.
40s. I'm in the 50s. 40s are amazing. I mean, really amazing. And congratulations that you have a little boy or girl?
Little boy.
Little boy. And congratulations, you're talking to a mama of 4 boys.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Oh my goodness. I just love being a mama of boys. I do have one girl too, though. I have one girl, which is amazing. I just love being a mom. I just
Yeah.
love being a mom. What's been actually one of your experiences being a mom that, obviously until you're a mom, you don't know what's been something very surprising to you?
You know how much I love it, which sounds crazy. I think I was prepared in motherhood for like the sleep deprivation and the loss of autonomy. And it was, I think for a long time, I was like, oof, all of these things that I'm going to lose. And I don't think I fully understood all that I was going to gain and how much love that you can't even imagine. And just being able to witness this being become themselves it's like the most fun.
It's
So
remarkable, isn't it? It's
yeah,
like, what
yeah,
the? You came out of me and you're
yeah.
like, you're your own little person.
I know. I don't know if I can do it 5 times.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't have the years to do it 5 times, but
You guys ever think of having another one, or you guys are, you're not, are you on the kind of like, you're still
we'll
young,
see.
you're still young.
We're on the we'll see.
Okay, well, we'll see. Yeah. Well, I want to say something. When we started out right now, you said something that really resonated with me. You said that you're in a time of your life that you feel, one of the words that you used was what was it? That you feel completely
On purpose.
on purpose.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that? Can we talk
Yeah.
about what it is to feel on purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the feeling is alignment. And I've been a writer for a long time. This is my fourth book, if I count a journal that I made. And I'm deeply grateful for my first two books, Choose Wonder Over Worry and The Answers Are Within You. Those books would be categorized more as like self-help or mind,
Okay.
body, spirit. And like, even though personal essays are woven into them and it's a big idea, choose wonder over worry instead of falling into fear of the unknown, move into the possibility and wonder of what could be. But I think with this book, me really leaning into memoir as the what's the word? The genre.
Yeah.
It felt the most honest and most me. So I guess that's actually the word. On purpose, it's the most honest season of my life.
Wow.
And I think me living honestly, both in my relationships as well as in my work and in the people whom I get to work with, everything feels right and true and honest and aligned. And it's just like, my mom used to joke with me because I would finally be like, I've got it. I like
Yeah.
reached it. I
Yeah.
got to the thing. And she would like laugh because then the next thing would happen. I'd be like, this is the thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was like always trying to get somewhere. And it's like, not that I'm not trying to get anywhere. It's just more like the daily being feels honest and aligned, and it's just building and building and building.
Yeah. That's really awesome how you're explaining that, because it really is it's just a sense of peace. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not perfect. I know I still do all the things, but I'm really showing up me.
Yeah.
And that's what I find very fascinating, because I think that's where a lot of people in general, we struggle. We struggle because, like, what does that mean? How do we have that? How do we have that peace that we're really honoring ourselves?
Yeah.
Honoring ourselves, not honoring what other people want us to do, not honoring, what society says, like really truly honoring ourselves. And when you said that to me, that's what I felt. I felt like,
Mm.
oh, she's truly honoring herself and showing up that way.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew that you,
Can I build on that a little bit?
yes, please do.
Because, so many people they come to me and they say like, how do I get there? I don't know what
Yeah.
your next question was going to be,
No, but
but
yeah, let's go there. That's perfect.
how do I get there so that I'm living fully in alignment with me and living honestly as me? And I find it interesting, freedom, which this book is about, this journey from being good to free. Freedom requires restraint. And so to become free, we have to be held back or stuck or trapped in some area of our lives. And, to move into alignment, it requires us to look at where we're out of alignment. And, so like to really feel like I'm living the full me, which was a 20-year journey for me or longer, because it was so many moments of hitting, this isn't me. Like I remember, I went into Silicon Valley in the tech world and I was like, thought it was my dream. And I was like, this isn't it. This is not my life.
But you
And
thought,
then
but you thought that this is what you wanted to have.
exactly.
Okay.
And then I had the like crazy, fairy tale wedding in person that I was with for 9 years. And then I was walking down the aisle thinking, this isn't it.
Yep.
Shit. Like this is not me. This is a performance. Like, what have I like, how have I even gotten myself here? And so I think it takes like to get to feeling like we're fully living our truth. It requires us to hit these moments, which I think people are so afraid to hit, of like, this is not me. This is not my life. When actually those moments, as terrifying and as uncomfortable as they are, they're a beautiful gift because they are the opening into finding this is it.
That's good. So what you're saying is there is moments that we truly, you guys, honestly, this is what we talk about when you're like really going within in your gut. Something just, you just feel it, right? You can't, it's unexplainable.
Yeah.
It really is unexplainable. And when you allow yourself to feel that uncomfortableness, that's where things can actually start changing, like she just said. And what happens is, and I know that, you talk to a lot of people, you work with people, and that's just why you've written books too, because you had your own journey. But when we explain that to someone, I like how you said that it's really breaking free of that. Like, okay, so let's talk about that. You've had those moments, right? Like something's like, maybe I wanted this, but now I'm here. And now I'm like, oh, something, it's not, this is really not what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
If someone is in that moment, and you were obviously in that moment a few times, and so was I, how do they lean into that? Because it's scary. Amber, it's scary.
So scary.
Yeah.
It's so scary. Yeah. I think the first thing, it requires self-honesty,
Okay.
because I think in these moments, and it's funny because my husband and I, we got pushed out of LA by the fires. We like moved 17 times with a 3-month-old, like hotels, Airbnbs, until we finally were like, I guess let's move back to the East Coast. And so we like landed in Brooklyn in May.
Okay.
And then for 3 months, I was convincing myself that I loved Brooklyn. I was like, I love it here. I love it.
Okay.
I love it. And I was like,
it.
why is my child picking up cigarette butts and glass in a park? I was like, I don't love it here. This is not where I want to raise a child. But I like had a hard time admitting that to myself because of everything that we had gone through around home. I was like, I am not going to now start to be like, I was like 2 months in, like, this isn't it. And then finally my husband was like, I really hate it here. And I was like, you do? And he was like, yeah, do you? No, you like it here? And I finally was,
I love it.
and I was like, I don't love it. I don't. And so it was like, getting to the place of now we're moving on October 1st. And like, of course, when it was, and I was like, I can't believe we're going to do this. But like, then everything, once we made the decision, it was like, oh, someone to take over our place. Like everything just happened really easily because it was as if the universe was like, yeah, you're not meant to be in Brooklyn. Like this was not it. But, I share that anecdote because, we have to, I think so many people are so good at like, I like it.
I like we're convincing ourselves, right? We're convincing ourselves.
It's like the high pitched voice of like, yeah, this is okay.
This is good. I'm gonna just like it. Even though everything my body is telling me, you do not like it.
You do not like it. This is not right. This is not true. This is not you. And so I think we have to first just like confront that of like whether it's, a friendship, a relationship, a job, a place we live, we've outgrown maybe even a part of ourselves. Maybe we're overgiving or we overstay or whatever it is. And we realize like, actually, this is no longer working and this isn't fine. And I don't like this.
I don't like
And
it.
and I don't want to make this work. I think that's the first step. And it's amazing the like freedom and relief and peace that you can feel within yourself when you acknowledge and admit that. But I have found in my life again and again and again, doing this in career and marriage, and that like once the truth is acknowledged, things start to click.
No, that's good. So take me back a little bit. When we were talking about, you had moments in your life, and people, we all have these moments, right? We have all these moments that we're like, okay, this is like, let's just talk about relationships, because this podcast is about relationships. So let's say, for an example, people are thinking, okay, this is who I want to be with, right? And I'm in a relationship, and this is it. This person's this is this. All of this. Okay, this is good. I feel it. And then you find yourself a moment just like you had. You're walking down an aisle, getting married, and you have this. Tell me what happens, because you had this like, what is going on with me? Was that the first time that you really felt it that way?
No, I had been feeling it.
Okay.
I like, 2 months before getting married, wrote my then fiance a long letter of like, here are the things that I need to see in place in our relationship to feel safe and to walk down the aisle. And then he came to that and was like, said all the right things to make me feel better. But no, there was a whisper that I kept pushing down and pushing down and
you guys
pushing
hear
down.
that? So she was already having the whisper. That's good. I want the listeners to hear this, because this is really important.
Yeah, I was hearing the whisper, but of course, like I kept thinking it was me. I was internalizing it. It's my fault. Something must be wrong with me. Maybe I like women. I was like, I was like, maybe, why am I not feeling, I just kept trying to figure out why I felt so disconnected in my relationship. And I even thought like, oh, well, maybe it's because something's missing in my career. Like I looked everywhere except of like, oh, maybe we're actually not compatible. And this isn't, this isn't the person that I want to be with. Like that felt, because we were such good friends and he was a good guy. And we'd been together for so long, it felt that change felt very scary. And so I think, then I thought, well, maybe if we make the wedding happen and do that whole thing, then this will start to feel right and true. Maybe that's, we just have to like make it official. But then I was walking down the aisle thinking, shoot, I don't know how long this is going to last.
Yes. Yeah. And so then you walk down the aisle. So you already had these whispers. And again, this is really relatable. I feel that this is what we do overall, right?
Yeah.
This is what we do. And this is why we're having this conversation today. So if you find yourself here right now, or been there, or listening, or something is already itching with you too, really listen here. Okay. So then you get married. And
I put on a hell of a performance.
You did. You put on a hell of a performance. Because you're thinking, okay, maybe it's just, wedding jitters, maybe,
exactly.
We try to, that's what we do, you guys. We try to convince ourselves like, okay, this is just maybe the wedding jitters. And maybe, after we get married, everything's going to be fine. And does it go away, Amber?
It doesn't go away. Fast forward 2 years later, we're at our 2-year wedding anniversary.
Okay.
And I think some context, like we were in a sexless dynamic, not a lot of intimacy, not a lot of like I always felt like, and I'll give a story of when I was 8 years old, I met my father for the first time that I could remember. And he was in a hospital and he had a traumatic brain injury, and he had been there since I was 3. And 8-year-old little girl. And, I've wondered about my father. I'm so desperate and excited to meet him. I overly think, what am I going to wear? What shoes,
How old were you again?
I was 8.
8. Okay. 8. Okay. Wow. Yeah. That's big age, when we
Big
really have a
age.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot going
Yeah.
on. Hmm.
So, and of course, I get there to meet him, and he has a brain injury. He can't, like, I want nothing more than for him to say, I love you, and to see me, and to attune to me, and to be able to connect with me in a meaningful way. But of course, he can't. And that the reality of that is so painful that I, 8-year-old me then made up a story. And I basically told all my friends at the playground that when I walked in the room, he knew my name and he said, I love you to me and only me. And all the nurses said that it was a miracle. And I believed this story until I was 35 years old. Or like, early 30s. And I was like, wait, maybe that's not actually what happened. But,
Yeah.
this is a pattern I played out in my romantic relationships is that I chose partners who I was always trying to reach.
Oh, it's really
Just
good.
because I was trying to have my dad reach me and see me and connect with me in that deeper level, he physically could not. And so I recreated that in partnership. So I share all of that because on my 2-year wedding anniversary, I'm like romantic
Yeah,
dinner. We like
yeah.
went to a fancy hotel, like some music is at our table, and I'm trying to reach um
Trying
my
to make it work.
husband,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
he's like so not there. And we go to the hotel room at night's end, there's champagne, I pop champagne, I pours 2 glasses, there's rose petals, and he falls asleep to watching The Voice. And I remember he was asleep, and John Legend like gave a standing ovation to some musician that he had just met. And I was like, if only I could get like an ounce of that, feeling of like aliveness and connection. And so, 2 years later, nothing had changed. And that's kind of when I had this come to Jesus moment of like, God, Dad, ancestors, anyone who's out there, can you help me, please?
That makes so much sense. Oh my goodness. Thank you for taking me back because for the listeners, when you grew up, I just want them to have a little bit of reference here too. When you grew up, you did not grow up with your dad?
I did. I mean, he left when I was about 2.5, so I
Okay.
don't have conscious memory of him. My earliest memory is actually funny enough talking to him on the phone.
Yeah.
And then, my only other memory of him is meeting him in the hospital.
Okay. So you didn't really kind of grow up with him. And then you've always probably had this fantasy of your dad. And when,
Exactly.
yeah, I got that. And then so he left, but then he gets injured or something. And so now you're going to the hospital. Wow.
He had gotten into a car accident,
He
drinking and
did.
driving when I was 3.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So then now you find yourself in this marriage. And this is what we're talking about today because you guys, when we're talking about romantic relationships, right? We're talking about romantic relationships. Romantic relationships are not just platonic. Romantic relationships, right? Romantic
Yeah.
relationships. So you can have. So this is what I say, Amber. So I really want to say this to you. So if we're going to get married and we're going to be in a romantic relationship, I always say it is like this. This is it. Being with, yes, your best friend, lover.
Yeah.
Lover. Okay. Because we can be platonic with anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you know what I mean? We can have really great friendships and with someone and we can get along. And like, for an example, like one of my best girlfriends, I've known her since I was 10 years old. So I'm 50, I don't know, 52. Okay. So I'm 52 years old. And I was like, Amber, how old am I? Okay. My birthday's next month. Okay. So anyway, so I've been friends with her since I was 10. And we have the coolest friendship ever. We get along. We, fill each other's cup up. There's things that we don't agree with, but we don't really even fight. We're like best friends, right? Best friends. But I don't fool around with her. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm not physical with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's my friend. She's my friend. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when we're getting married, it's like that, but also the touchy, the romance, different parts of that intimacy. I don't have that
Yeah.
type of intimacy with my best friend, my girlfriend, but I have
Yeah.
that type of intimacy with my husband, who's
Yeah.
also my best friend lover. So you're in a relationship. You guys, so that's what I'm saying. She was married. She was married.
He's
So
married to my best friend, not lover.
exactly. So how is that going to work? If she's like, hey, you know what? I'm a woman. I also want, a lover too. I mean, because that's the point, right? Because we need it.
Yeah.
That's something for us as human beings really gives us that opportunity to be so much a different vulnerability, a
Yeah.
different intimacy when you are honestly like naked and
Yeah.
being with someone. Okay, got you. Okay, so now you're in this marriage,
Yeah.
and although you had this amazing friendship,
Yeah.
he wasn't the lover.
No, he was not my lover. And
So
I,
what did that start doing to you as a woman?
yeah, I
You know
think
what I'm
it,
saying? Honestly, I want women like, what did that do?
I think I was kind of like disassociated from it. If I, like, what did it do to me? It was like heartbreaking, depressing,
Yes.
painful, sad. Like, there was grief there, there was confusion. But I was too afraid to feel any of that. So it was
Okay.
just like I was numb.
You were numb. Yeah.
I was numb. And so it was like, because it was like, okay, another trip. We were like eat, we'd go to great restaurants, food and drink. And I realized we were numbing, because we weren't experiencing that pleasure in our relationship. So we were looking for pleasure in other places. But yeah, it was like, being with my best friend lover now,
Mm.
it's like, I don't even understand how I did that for so long.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. At the time, and I know I keep taking you back,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
the time, did you think that was normal? Like, did you think like relationships just don't have sex, or maybe if you're married, you maybe have sex every once in a while, or did you feel at the time, mm, we should be? I mean, what was I really want people to understand this.
Deep down, I knew it was not right. And
Okay.
I knew it was like, this is not how it's supposed to be. But I don't know how conscious that was
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I was pushing it down. So
Yeah.
I thought, oh, maybe this is what happens, over time. We've been together for so long. I remember asking girlfriends, like, we're not having sex very often.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what, and I had like asked friends who had just had a baby and they're like, oh, well, and so I was really trying to rationalize and make sense of, oh, maybe we've both been so busy with work. It was full of like excuses and convincing. But I knew deep down, we went to therapy and we never told our therapist we weren't having sex.
Oh, you
So it's
didn't.
no, so it's clear that there was a lot of shame there for both of us.
Oh, okay. Yes.
And so it like we
Yes.
were in deep denial and avoidance of that fact because I
Okay.
think we both knew that once we're like, okay, this is the relationship. We're just best friends. There's no
Mm-hmm.
lover here. I think once that truth was surfaced, knew what we had to do about it, which was separate.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is so good. Okay. So as you are in this relationship, and we talked about, that inner voice, like something, really having peace with ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, when and what happened that you really noticed, something's just really not right here? Because you were
Yeah.
feeling it, but there was something you're like, now you're allowing it. You guys listen to this part, because if you're in a situation, and this is why she's doing what she's doing, and this is why she written the books that she has, you know what I mean, to honor yourself. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm taking her back because she has to go through the process, just like we all have to go through the process. So she's at a different place now, but this is where she was at the time. This is why she's telling the story. Okay. So what started really happening, girlfriend? Like, there was this, like, you knew, okay, we're going to counseling. We're not telling the counselor that we're not having, we're not being intimate. But
Yeah.
man, I can only imagine it's start you feeling like, I am not really being my true authentic self. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure stuff started coming up. What was some shifts or something happened that you noticed that something had to change, or did not? Like, what happened there?
I mean, it was that 2 year anniversary
It
where,
was.
because I think for so long I was like, I can make this work. I can make this work. I kept trying to reach him and experience that closeness. And so it was like, okay, maybe if and this is where I was at, we had left New York, moved to Mexico during the pandemic.
Okay.
And I made him my business partner because I thought maybe if he's my business partner, I'll finally get the closeness that I'm after. Okay.
You're
So
trying
now it's
everything.
like,
Oh, I gotta
I
give
mean,
you
it's like
credit, girlfriend. You're like really
therapy,
trying.
self-help books. Like it was like, I like, let me try everything. So
Yes.
I basically had hit my point of like, I can't make this work. Like
Yeah.
like, why am I trying so hard?
Right.
And then it was, I had that. So 2-year anniversary, I don't know if I can make this work. I don't know if I can save this marriage. Maybe I need to save myself
Yes.
was my thinking. And then I did the like, dear, whoever's out there, can you give me some guidance? And literally the next day, we go back to this land project that we were working on, and these potential investors came. We were raising money for the project, and they had a friend tag along. And I said hello to the two friends. And then when I turned and connected eyes with the third person, I was overcome with the feeling of it was like, hello again. He said, hello, I'm John. And my whole body was like, I know you. I recognize you.
Ooh, I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills. This is the trip.
You feel like home, and hello again. And I'm pretty sure you're my person. And, that felt crazy to have that, like that strong knowing surface, because he was a stranger and I was married, and, now my husband's my business partner and we raise money and we're in the middle of this whole thing. But it was, as soon as I met him, it was like the house of cards fell down. And anywhere I was being dishonest with myself, it was like he was this mirror of like, what you're living right now is all, none of this is real. And also this is what connection is supposed to feel like.
Wow. That's powerful. You guys, are you listening to this? Look how powerful this is. So you're already, again, having this inner feeling like, I've been trying everything with my husband. So this is not even about him anymore. This is about you.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like no one's perfect. He has good qualities, bad qualities, all the things. But my body, my true self, everything inside me really knows 100% this is not my best friend lover.
Yeah.
This is my friend, my business partner, a person that I love and I care for, but this is not my forever.
Yeah.
Woo, girlfriend. Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh my goodness. This is so good. Okay. So now for the very first time, you're feeling something so powerful that it's undeniable. You guys listen to that. It was so powerful that even if she wanted to, at this point, it was like, nope, you can't ignore this now. No, Amber, you can't ignore this. This is like, what happens to you? Because I can only imagine you were probably like, this is confusing, but powerful, but exciting. But where do I go from here?
Yeah. I mean, and it's like, I have all these flashes as you're talking, because then I brought them to the land, and my then husband was like inside making cocktails, and I began telling John and his friend about what we were doing. And I just remember I was like floating around the space so nervously, and I like could feel him looking at me with like such like kindness but intensity, and I was like, oh my god, he's seeing all of me. And I like didn't know where to rest my hands, I didn't know where to like put my gaze, and then I was like, what is happening to me? So that was it was like I was waking up in the moment.
Yeah.
And then they were meant to stay for an hour, and 5 hours later, John and I were in this bubble of just like wanting to know every last thing about the other. And at night's end, they left, and I turned to my then husband and I said to him, I just met a soulmate. And he said, I saw, and that was beautiful. I saw, and that was beautiful to witness.
Wow. Okay. Can you even imagine being in a situation that you've been in a marriage and not really feeling like it's your true alignment? Like you're not really feeling yourself. You feel like you're just trying to make things work, even though you're with someone that you absolutely love And like she said, on paper, he's her best friend. He's a best friend.
Yeah.
But she also, as a woman, she needed her lover too.
Yeah.
She needed a best friend lover.
Yeah.
Because if we're going to get married and we're going to do life and we're going to have babies and we're going to have family, you know, we need a lover. We need a lover. Okay. We need a lover. I got it. I got you. And look at her now. She's a mama and she has a lover and she has a baby turning a year old. But when you realized it and you had that honesty with him, and then he said it back to you, what happened?
Yeah, you know, and I think when I said that, it was just, as you said, the connection was so undeniable that you know, I thought maybe in another life, like he's not, I was just like, but wow, my soul and his soul, they are like, woo, that's a special kind of connection right there. And
Wow.
so the connection, I had to name it, not thinking, and now I'm going to blow up my marriage and, leave all
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this. But, I think what that really set forth was a kind of truth and transparency that I hadn't been living in our marriage because
Okay.
I was afraid. And
Yes.
so, you know, it was, and I was holding it like the journey I then walked was because then I didn't know if I was ever going to see John again. And then, of course, like 3 days later, we're happened to be at the same dinner and we're sitting across from each other. And then he was interested in doing something with land. And then I made him my creative partner in the project. And like, because I was like, oh, he can't be my lover in this lifetime. I'll make him my creative partner.
You're the creative partner. It's okay. We'll figure this out. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a whole, delicious winding journey that I tell in the book. But, I think I got to the point where I was holding at the same time this like deep fear of breaking the heart of someone that I cared deeply
Yes.
about. I didn't want to hurt my friend. But I think I came to the recognition that for so long, my fear of hurting my friend meant that I had to hurt myself.
Yes.
And I realized, oh, well, actually, like, I don't want to hurt myself anymore. I want to, as painful as this is, choose myself. And actually, like, as a friend said to me, perhaps liberation is a two-way street. So, you choosing, making this courageous choice to do what's most in alignment for you, like each person will be set free to their own path of alignment. And so, I ultimately made the courageous choice
It's very courageous.
and decided that I had to choose me. And in the choosing of me, I decided to give, my soulmate a shot.
If someone's listening right now and this is like really hitting them, they're like, I'm in the same situation.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't met hold on, let me take it back. Maybe they haven't met the other person. Maybe, but they're in a marriage right now, a relationship that they know, like you just said, with this discovery, and they have a relationship that there's no true, intimacy, no true connection. What would be your advice?
Yeah, I think the catalyst comes in many forms, the thing that wakes you up and has you see the truth. And for me, it was John in that moment. And if you're listening now and I happen to be the catalyst that's helping you see the truth, like I feel like the path is truth and transparency.
Okay.
And it's like getting really, and there's a part of me that wants to be like, run, design your, like choose you, but I also think we want to, care for the hearts of the people that we're with. But we need to make sure that we're caring for our hearts first. And so I think it's, who can you talk to, what support can you find to really kind of unpack the truth of what you're in right now and what you're really longing and wanting. Because, I've had friends who will say they've been in 4 marriages and it's all to the same person. And, sometimes you realize, wait, we've, really, we were best friend lovers, but we've become best friends, but like maybe we can get the lover back. And maybe that requires a reckoning and some hard but honest conversations with the person that you're with around like what needs you have and what is important to you and are they willing to meet you there?
That's good.
And then sometimes you realize you're with your best friend never lover. Which which is where I was. And I realized like I've been trying for so long to cultivate something that just doesn't exist between us. And so, that the natural thing to do was that we needed to both be set free. But I remember talking to a friend of mine. She's an amazing therapist, and so many people ask the question of should I stay or should I go? And I think
Mm-hmm.
something that she thought was really helpful, particularly if you're with my best friend was a lover. Um, you know, she says it's important to look at your relationships with staying and leaving. And are you the type of person who tends to overstay and overgive and disappoint yourself so you don't disappoint another and fall into pleasing behaviors and patterns? Then the invitation often is to like honor yourself and not disappoint yourself. Or are you someone who tends to overleave, where as soon as like things get intimate, or as soon as things, like as soon as things get a little uncomfortable, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm out of here. Because then maybe the invitation for you is actually to like lean in, have the hard conversations, express your needs, stand up for what matters to you, and maybe you'll get the intimacy that you're after.
Wow. That was an amazing answer. I really like how you broke that down. I love that. I really love that because, again, it's not necessarily if you're in a situation, if you're in a marriage, it's not necessarily that that person isn't your person. It's
Yeah,
maybe you are not being true to who you are and not sharing your truth to your person. It could
totally.
there. So what you're saying is you really have to slow down a little bit and really honor yourself first, honor what's going on, and do that discovery. Do that
Yeah,
discovery. Don't just assume, don't just think. And once you start doing that, that's when you're going to really find out what's really going on. And don't
totally.
ignore it. Like if it's uncomfortable, work through that. Find
Yeah.
out okay, I got that. Why is it uncomfortable? Okay, let me ask you this. As I said earlier, oh, this is so good. As I said earlier, I wrote some questions down. So I'm going to
Yeah.
write one of the questions that are really coming up to me. And I don't want to forget these questions. Okay, here,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
actually read the question. You guys, I wrote it down. Whew, I get excited. Look how fun this conversation is already. Okay, here we go. Amber, in Lovable, you share so honestly about moving from being good to being truly free. Can you
Mhm.
take us back to that moment when you first realized that being good, doing everything right on the outside, wasn't
Mhm.
actually giving you the love and life you longed for?
I'm trying to think of a new example that's not what we've already talked about. What's coming up for me, I don't know if this is directly answering it,
Okay,
but
what's coming up?
um, what did you say just a minute ago? You said you.
I'm going to read it again. I'm going to read it
No,
again.
no, no, not your
Oh,
question.
yeah.
What we were talking about before. Um, but the idea is basically like you have to also be your number one.
Okay.
And so, I think when we have to, gosh, there was a phrase that you used, I'm forgetting. But anyway, but
Okay.
basically like, we have to like show up full, like just like we want to show up fully and have the hard conversations and maybe have that person meet us fully. We need to fully do that with ourselves. Like be the person that we be the best version of ourselves that we can. Because sometimes when we feel a disconnect in a relationship is because we're actually not showing up for ourselves.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so like fully show up for yourself. And so to answer your question though, I think is I did that. I was like, okay, I'm going to really go for it in my career. I'm going to take great care of my health. I'm going to
Okay.
like
Yep. Yep.
in every category of my personal life, separate of my relationship, I am going to like be fully myself and like
Yep.
to the best that I can be. And then I did all of that and the relationship didn't change. And so like, because I was always like, well, if you don't show, if I'm not, maybe the reason that this isn't working is because
That's
of
what
something
being
with
good is,
me.
right? Is like
Yeah,
just
me. Yeah, me. So I'm going to be so good for me in all these categories and eat really well. I'm going to like perform well in my work and and do everything that I think that I'm supposed to do to be this like vibrant and successful person. And then maybe I'll finally feel that love and closeness. And I think it was when I had like checked all those boxes and nothing had changed that I was like, wait, this isn't enough.
oh, that's good. That's good. Oh, you really explained that perfectly, actually. That, yeah. Thank you for that. You really explained
Yeah.
that perfectly, because that's the difference between what you said, just being good, right? Like just
Yeah.
doing all the things that we think that we should do, but
Yeah.
still not really feeling good
Yeah, exactly.
inside.
And I was like,
Yeah.
I should be feeling good because I'm doing all the things that you're supposed to do to feel good. Why
Yes.
don't I feel good?
Yes. And have you noticed we do that?
Yeah.
We do that. And why do we do that? We do that because, like you said earlier, we don't want to um, really face the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's
That's the
scary.
fear, right? It's
Yeah.
scary.
It's scary. It
It's scary.
requires change, and change is unknown, and unknown is scary.
And that's
And
it.
by the way, and our brains are wired to, anytime we want to do something meaningful, novel, or interesting, the fear part of our brain is triggered because that's the unknown. And so I
Yes.
think it's also recognizing that fear is actually, it's not a stop sign, it's often a green light. And when we feel that discomfort and fear, instead of like shutting down and being like, oh, something's wrong, we're like, oh, actually, this is where the growth happens. This is where I'm expanding, and it's uncomfortable,
It's
but
uncomfortable.
expansion is uncomfortable.
It is. It is uncomfortable. But you know what? You said something too earlier, but on the other side. Ooh.
Yeah. Oof.
Ooh, oof. Well, you
Oof.
guys, we're going to answer a couple more questions, and then we're going to talk about the other side, because
Okay.
this is the best part. Okay, hold on. Let me get my another question, and let's see if we already answered this question. Let me
Okay.
make sure.
And I only have like 5-ish minutes left.
Okay. 5 minutes. Okay. In your story, you talk about listening to the inner knowing, even when it meant facing shame, fear, and really hard choices. What gave you the courage to honor that voice inside of you? And what did freedom begin to look like in real life? Because now I know you're on the other side. So this is
Yeah.
perfect question.
Yeah, there's people are going to have so many thoughts and feelings and opinions about the things that you choose to do in your life. And I think one of the good girl myth that I struggled with the most, there was like the perfectionism, but I'd say harmony, is that I didn't want to disappoint or let anyone down.
Yeah.
And so, for so long, it was like shaping myself to fit other people's, like, what would satisfy or make them happy with me. And I was this like constant chameleon of, who do these people need me to be? And the edge for me was finally like, I need to trust my own knowing, even if people disapprove or don't understand, or it doesn't make sense. Like, whoa, she met another guy while married, like people have a lot of feelings about that narrative. And also there's like a typical betrayal story of like, that I went off and had an affair and like kept it very secret, which is not what this story is.
Okay.
But I think I realized that like, I no longer want to disapprove and disappoint myself. And so my edge here is to trust my knowing and trust myself. And instead of being comfortable with other people, instead of being comfortable with disappointing myself, the new comfort I had to grow was other people being disappointed in me. And then that provided, and then there was shame, and there was like, people had a lot of feelings and thoughts about it. And at first I tried to like defend myself and explain. If they understood every detail of how this went down, if they understood the truth of the story, like, then maybe they wouldn't judge me. But it just, no, I realized it wasn't actually about me. People had, particularly love and relationships, people have a lot of wounds about, and they like to project those wounds onto others. And so I was a really great target for that. And so it was just like, this is not mine. And then of course, as my life began to shift, as I began to experience what true and real love was, as I began to have a best friend lover,
Yes.
And be like, ooh, this is, it was like, I actually don't care what people
Amber.
think and feel about this, because I know what my life is and what I'm experiencing. And it's
Hallelujah.
beautiful.
You guys,
And
this is, I know I'm interrupting you because I know you got to get off, and I got to say something
yeah.
before we get off. Okay, you guys, honestly, wow, fastest hour I've ever had. But I want her to just share that before she gets off, and then how we're going to get in her world. And you guys, honestly, seriously, we are just giving you snippets of this book. Get the book, honestly. Like, the book is incredible. Get the book, because you're going to get the whole story here, and there's so much here. Okay, so I'm really just getting snippets of everything. This is already amazing. But once you honored yourself and you stopped the noise, Amber, you're like, it doesn't even matter. Like, you know what? People's doing their own life. I really, for the first time in my life, I have to really honor myself. What happened, girlfriend, when you finally honored yourself? What is your life like now?
I mean, it's how we started this. It is I am living on purpose. I am in deep peace. I, am walking the path I know I'm meant to walk. And I feel like that was something I was searching for so long in my life. And it's not because of the guy or the
No,
baby or the work. It's
no.
because every day I make the choice that honors myself.
And how is
And
your
I let
relationship
that be my
now?
compass.
Yes. And
How's
how is your
how's
relationship now with your man, with your
It's
husband?
beautiful. It's beautiful. Intimacy, depth, meaning, it's conflict, edges, tension, growth. It's everything.
It's everything. And that's what I want everyone to know. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for to be able to be with a person that you are completely, truly, you're honestly honoring yourself. You're authentic. You are who you are, like seriously.
Yeah.
And you also get to have your best friend lover. That's what's
Yeah.
possible, Amber, for all of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And that's why it's
And
so, yes.
but and I just want to add the and it doesn't mean it's because people are like, oh, it's this romantic fairy tale. Like it wasn't even
No.
when John. So when I left my marriage, I packed my things. I moved to LA 6 weeks after meeting John. We committed our lives to each other, and we had never even kissed. But here I was on the other side of a 9-year sexless relationship, feeling deeply disconnected from my sexuality, now choosing someone who is not disconnected from his sexuality. And so I was terrified because I felt like a 15-year-old girl who'd like never been touched.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's like, the book, that's part 2 of the book, but like, then it was, a bumpier road than I was expecting. But I think, the path is also in letting yourself be naked and be fully seen. It's deeply vulnerable, and you have to confront parts of yourself that maybe, you never wanted to confront because you didn't want to be seen in that way. So it's everything.
You guys get this book. I mean, what a perfect ending. You're keeping us on like a cliff note. Like you're like, you got to get the book to finish the story. You got to get the book. You guys, that was like genius. How you I know that this just came out of you, but I'm like, she literally is leaving us with that. Like that, is that not like a sign for us to get the book? Like honestly, oh my God. Now I'm like, what? Amber, how do they get the book and how do they get into your world? Because you are incredible. And I am so honored to have you here today and for this conversation.
Thank you. Lovable is available everywhere books are sold. My Instagram is Hey Amber Rae. My website is amberrae.com, and then we'll have links to all the things.
Yes.
But
Oh
this
my
was so
God.
fun. You're wonderful. I love your energy and spirit. And this was just as fun as the first. We had to do this over. That's
Yeah,
all.
yeah, we had to do
Right.
this. We had to. I
Because
had to.
we forgot to record. We were so excited last time. We
No,
forgot to
now
record.
we. There's no we. I forgot to record. And Amber was so cute because when we got on this call today, we got our call. She's like, I'm noticing something. It says it's not recording yet. And I'm like, no, I promise you, I'm pressing that button this time. I'm pressing the button. But you know what? That conversation was amazing. This conversation was amazing. Please get into Amber's world. I am so honored to have her. She's incredible. You guys get her books, get on Instagram, do all the things. Seriously, do all the things. And to next time, cheers to great love. If you're loving this podcast and these incredible conversations, please hit the subscribe button and leave a 5-star review. Don't miss an episode because each week I'll be bringing on guests and experts who will share their knowledge about love, dating, and relationships so you can apply it into your own life. I'll see you next week. And until then, cheers to great love.